Hardly anybody can resist the taste of chocolate. And for those chocoholics out there, brownies are the perfect medicine. You know how they're like, crispy on the outside and soft heart on the inside. And what's more, they're really easy to make, certainly when it comes to the basic version. But I've got some more creative versions ready for you too. Take your pick, the traditional chocolate brownie squares, or the nuts and caramel version. Or, if you're really feeling festive, a genuine brownie cake with whipped cream and raspberries. It only takes a few ingredients to make the perfect brownie. Of course, it all starts with chocolate. I need 200 grams of really dark chocolate. I'm immediately taking this glass bowl because we're going to melt the chocolate, obviously. I'm melting it together with the butter, of which I use 130 grams. $130 grams, which I add in small pieces so everything can melt evenly. I'm opting for the traditional way to melt the chocolate and Stork, which in my opinion is still the best way, au bain-marie. A large pot filled with hot water, our glass bowl on top of that. And this is ready for the stove without the risk of burning anything. Now, while this is cooking, I'm continuing the rest of our recipe. I need eggs for that, 3, and that's about 150 grams. The eggs go in whole. I don't really need to beat them. I'll just be mixing them with 130 grams of vanilla sugar. In goes the sugar. Now beat them a little. And let's see how the chocolate's doing. The bain-marie is doing its work, and the water is just about close to boiling. The bowl is really heating up, and the chocolate and the Stork are melting nicely. This way, you get great liquid chocolate, which we can simply add to our egg mix. Now, just to make sure, the chocolate shouldn't be too hot, because if it is, you could end up cooking your eggs. And we don't want that to happen until they've hit the oven, do we? Now, obviously, we're not spilling a drop here. So every corner gets a wipe. We're only in the scrambled egg with chocolate phase for the moment. So we're adding some flour. Not that much, 50 grams will do. And this is when I add a secret ingredient, a bit of almond powder. 20 grams this time. Flour-wise, don't use self-raising flour in this case. We're doing everything we can to make a tender brownie. And I didn't beat the eggs thoroughly, and I'm not using self-raising flour because we want a brownie that's nice and sticky. 50 grams, and I'm stirring in the flour carefully. And because we're dealing with a rather firm consistency, because of the chocolate, there's no real point in sifting the flour. If you should bump into little lumps, the chocolate will make sure everything mixes together fine. Then, with the almond powder we added, the tenderness and stickiness of our cookies will certainly be guaranteed. The dough for our brownies is completely ready. We only need to preheat the oven. Not too hot in this case, 170 degrees Celsius is more than enough. From this, we can now bake brownies in a rectangular shaped baking tin, but that's not what we're going to do here. I'm using a round spring form to bake this brownie in. I've already put in a small baking paper And we can now fill our baking tin, but not till the edge. Although we didn't use self-raising flour, the eggs will still make the brownie rise a little bit. And then nicely smooth out the top. And you can safely, just to make sure all the air bubbles are gone. And our brownie cake, or the foundation at least, is ready for the oven. 20 minutes at a temperature of 170 degrees Celsius should do the trick. And we'll be filling the foundation with raspberries and whipped cream, and we'll be pouring a lovely chocolate ganache over it later on. I'll start with the whipped cream. Now traditionally you could add some sugar or vanilla sugar, and we're purposely not doing that here. Totally natural this time because our brownie already contains enough sugar. And now it's whipping time. A change of hand once in a while. 4 more beats to go and we're done. All right, that was 5. And it looks like it turned out fine. Nice and crispy on the outside and still a bit mellow on the inside. Now I'm letting it thoroughly cool now, and as you will see, it will settle a bit. Now don't worry about that. Afterwards, we'll cut it, giving it the right height again. And for the finishing touches, we still have to make the chocolate ganache. That lovely layer of dark brown chocolate you see shining away on top of the cakes at the bakery. And we'll be making it ourselves now. I'm heating up the rest of our cream, about 100 grams, on a mild fire. And once the cream starts boiling, I'm turning off the stove. And then I add small pieces of chocolate, about 200 grams, and the heat of the cream will make the chocolate melt nicely. And at the same time, by not heating the chocolate, I'm making sure we'll get that shiny effect we all want so much. And now a good stir with a wooden spoon. And to fully complete the shine, I'm adding a small knob of Stork, which will melt nicely into the chocolate and which will make the outer chocolate layer set perfectly. In the meantime, the foundation for our brownie cake, our little round cake, has cooled down enough. I can now open the springform easily, and the baking paper makes sure the bottom comes out effortlessly as well. As you can see, the cake is quite big, and I'll cut it into 2 so that we can fill it. Just a sharp knife, and with the edge pointed towards the middle, carefully cut it in half. And the most irregular shape, the top of the brownie cake, will actually be used on the inside. And we'll camouflage it with our whipped cream and raspberries. And then the fun part starts again, putting together the cake. Push it down a little, and then the whipped cream all over the top. I'm only covering the middle because the raspberries will make the cream spread a little more. It already looks like a cake ready to eat. By covering the inside with sourish raspberries and then the creaminess of the whipped cream, we're creating the perfect balance every cake should have: sweet, sour and creamy. A little blob of cream on top, making sure the top half isn't going anywhere. Now be careful here. Press it down firmly and the cake is almost ready. It still may look a bit peculiar, but the ganache will soon change that. The cake can stay on the grid, but I'll slip something underneath. And then the ultimate makeover of our chocolate brownie can take place by pouring the ganache, which is at body temperature, over the cake. We can beautifully fill the sides with our palette knife. The ganache is shining like a mirror. And now a little hint about what's inside. 3 raspberries on top. And just look at that festive chocolate brownie cake with raspberry. Pretty as a picture. Enjoy.